Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whatever time zone you happen to be in. This is Speedrun Ragnarok. We are on day 5. And we are benefiting Take This again this year. Take This helps people in the gaming community suffering from mental illness by letting them know they are not alone in their struggles and there are treatment options out there to help. We have lots of amazing games today and a bunch of incentives open too if you want to type that exclamation mark incentives in chat, including the very next game in, just about an hour and a half ish. Ultima 3, there are 4 characters and you can choose both their gender and their name. So please get those donations in so that, we can have fun. All right, and we are going to go straight in to Pushover with DavidTKI. Go for it.
Hello, my name is David, and yeah, I get to show off a pushover for y'all this morning. This is a puzzle game. It was originally released for Amiga, but it was ported to DOS and Super Nintendo. I'm currently playing the DOS version today. As a fun fact, Pushover was actually one of the free games that came with my SNES flash cart. So if you have a SNES flash cart and you got a group of free games with it, maybe Pushover is one of them. Please check it out. Anyways, I think I'm ready to go. So we good to go on the time?
Yeah, I think so. If you want to just count us in and start.
All right, then I'll count down from 3. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so this is a game about setting up dominoes and pushing them over. The name pushover. You get one push, all dominoes must fall over, and the one with triple red lines has to fall over last. That's going to be the final block. This solid red domino cannot be knocked over. Any domino that hits it is going to bounce off of it, so you have to move that out of the way. So yeah, this first zone is basically a tutorial on all of these pieces that we have to work with. Again, the triple red line block is the final block, and it always has to fall over last. This block with the solid red spot in the middle of it, that is called a tumbler block, and it's going to tumble endlessly until it either falls over the edge or something stops it, like say this yellow domino. So yeah, going next. This block with the red line down the middle is an ascend block. You hit it with something, it will fly into the air and then knock over stuff above. So this one with the red line in the middle is a bridge. If you have a one tile gap and it falls over onto it, it's going to bridge that gap. A tumbler that knocks down a bridge will continue onward and knock down pieces ahead of it. This one with the red at the bottom is a splitter. If a domino falls on it from above, then it's going to split in 2 different directions and go both ways. Oops, got the victory animation there. That's something you want to skip on every single stage. This block is a detonate block. You hit it with something, it will explode and create a gap. So yeah, you can kind of see how we're starting to set up the rules, but we haven't gotten anywhere yet. This stage isn't teaching us about any new special blocks, but we are going to be looking at a mechanic where a block that falls over a ledge can bounce off of a stop block, continue going downward, as long as it is bouncing off of stop blocks that are near the edge. We'll keep going on here. What is next? I believe... yeah. 2 red lines here. This is a vanish block. When this block falls over, it's going to vanish completely, but the important part for this stage is that it will not tumble over the edge, so we have to move it so that the block that does fall over does. I don't think this stage is teaching us anything new, except it's important to note that you won't always have access to the entire stage. So you may only have access to a certain portion of it to move blocks around, and the exit door may not always be where you expect it to be. The final block we're introducing is this diagonal red line block, the delay block. When you hit a delay block, it doesn't fall over immediately. It will wait a bit and then fall over. But the important part is that pieces can bounce off of it. So that's going to be it for the first zone. The first zone, the construction zone, is basically the tutorial zone. Each zone has 11 stages in it. There's going to be 100 stages in total. So this is bringing us to this next zone, which is probably our first real puzzle. Just move the ascend block here and the tumbler to the left of it and then push it. Relatively simple, but it's going to start ramping up from here. And it is important to notice that a tumbler that hit an ascend block did continue onward. For this next stage, the hardest part is going to be both identifying where the chain starts, as well as what you need to do to complete it. You move one of those blocks up there so that it gets knocked over by the ascend block as it goes up. But then I'm going to be doing a tactic here where I didn't necessarily start pushing over the dominoes right at the beginning. I instead pushed over the second domino, and I moved the first domino someplace where it would get knocked over sooner. For this next stage, you're supposed to move these detonate blocks, and then I think you're supposed to move the top block's left one, but you can actually just take one block from the middle tier, move it upward, so that you don't have to move anything. See, moving on. One important thing that I did not note about the final block is that it is the last thing that has to be pushed over. It has to fall over completely, but it doesn't count as fallen over until it has fallen a full 90 degrees, which means you can put a vanish block on the other side of it, and it will vanish, leaving the final block to finish falling over, and then that counts. That's a trick that doesn't come up very often, but it's a good one to know about. But also, knowing about it falling over completely can help you get past certain solutions if you think, wait a minute, I knocked over the block, why isn't the exit door open? What comes up next? Ah, we got this one. So this delay block is going to have to be moved all the way to the right, because once we start this tumbler, it has to bounce back and hit the final block. But you have to have the delay block all the way to the right, otherwise the tumbler is going to hit the final block before the other blocks fall. This stage I find kind of interesting because this is the first real stage where you might see differences between versions. In the Super Nintendo version, a lot more of this stage is open and you could manipulate a lot more of it, but in this version the stage is not as open, so you pretty much have only these few blocks up here to mess with. Some stages are different between the Super Nintendo and DOS versions. I'm not familiar with the Amiga version just yet. I should look into it. For this one, yeah, there's not a lot to go into here. Move this detonate block over here so that the tumbler block will go down. You will have enough time to start that and then move this block over. There's usually two main aspects to every stage, which is you kind of want to start knocking over dominoes as soon as possible if you can. But even more importantly, you want the final block to fall over as soon as possible.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes!
I noticed that there was a timer for each of these levels. Do you have to have the final block fall before the timer counts down? Now, obviously for speedrunning it doesn't matter, but for like casual.
Yeah, you do have to have everything fall over before that timer counts down.
Oh.
Which can make... It doesn't usually come into play, but there's like one or two levels where the timer puts a limit on what you can do.
This looks like such an amazing game. I love it.
Yeah, it was a really fun casual play, and it's also still really quite a fun speedrun, because like you find your solutions, but then sometimes you find even faster solutions when looking at some of the speedruns that it's like You wouldn't think of that in a casual play, but yeah, there's just tiny frame savers everywhere. I should note for this stage that I cannot walk off the edge with any of these ascend blocks. I have to take this all the way down the ladder. Do not walk over a ledge with an ascend block unless you really mean it. The reasons for that will become clear later. There's going to be a stage where I will do exactly that. We're now into the third zone, the space zone. Some of the puzzles here start to get a little more complicated. For this one, you just need to bring a block up here to continue things up here, but I just barely got to that in time. So some of your frame savers may involve just barely placing blocks in time, racing across the stages. You don't necessarily need to do it for that first stage. One of the patterns that is going to come into play starting from this stage is putting a detonate block over a splitter block. That's something that you are going to do quite a lot. This stage, you actually don't need to move anything at all, but you do need to move very quickly because that detonate block is going to explode very quickly, and if you haven't made your way to the ledge where the exit door is, then you will not be able to make it there. So you have to actually race the falling blocks over to the exit door. For this one, you're supposed to set up this domino on top and push it over the edge, but I'm actually going to just walk over the edge and drop it, because that activates the splitter. You're not supposed to know that yet. A later stage does teach you that mechanic, but dropping blocks on splitters without actually pushing them over is going to be pretty important later on, and is a frame saver there. This stage looks fairly similar to one in the second zone, but I do have to set up everything in advance because I do have one extra move I need to do down here, which is that I need to move this leftmost domino right here to complete the chain. There's going to be a lot of that in the space zone, just racing to place the blocks in time. So, let's see. Here's one where you can go ahead and start immediately. You just push that domino to the right, but this detonate block has to be placed in the right place, but you can't place it until that tumbler block goes by. So yeah, another important thing, if you haven't picked up on it already, this stage will emphasize that yes, you may have to move stuff that can't be placed until later. For this one, the hardest part is identifying the starting point, which is this leftmost block right here, but take this block immediately because the tumbler right above it risks falling down on it and completely destroying it. A block that falls on another block will not knock it over, it will destroy it, and if you managed to destroy some blocks rather than knocking them over, then that exit door will not open. Finding some of Colin's quavers here. We're gonna move a couple of pieces around here. This tumbler block has to go down, this has to go up above so that it can be knocked over. A common thing among most of these stages is that sometimes you need for your chains of dominoes falling over to split up, and there's usually multiple ways to get that delay block splitter. In this case, we're going to have a tumbler hit an ascend block and then continue onward, and then we'll take this block that I was supposed to knock into the tumbler and set it down here. Just because pushing the tumbler directly allowed me to start all that sooner. Unfortunately for this stage, I haven't found a way to actually be able to set it off early, so I'm going to put all these pieces in place. Tumbler goes to the right here, ascend block goes here, and then you go up top and you push the leftmost block, and the detonate block is going to pretty much stop you from doing any further manipulations on the stuff down here, especially since your exit door is right here. Here's a really difficult stage. This left set of blocks is one that tends to not fall over quickly enough when you try to do blocks in both directions. So I drop one of the blocks onto the splitter to activate the left side early so that the right side has plenty of time to finish before it gets to the final block. And then we should have one stage left in the space zone, and this is a stage where the timer does matter. There's really not enough time to manipulate most of these pieces in the way you would normally think about them, because there's this vanish block right here and you kind of want to move it out of the way, but you might run out of time trying to move it out of the way if you don't start pushing this stuff immediately. We've got another thing here. This yellow block is being put down there specifically to stop the tumbler. If the tumbler is still going when the final block falls over, then you don't get that exit. We move on to the fourth zone, the electronic chip zone or something like that. This zone is characterized mostly by only really needing to move one or two pieces, but usually it's not completely obvious how you're supposed to move them. For this one, you can just take this ascend block, place it over here, and then push over the things up top. You do have enough time to take this first block and place it at the end down here. Yeah, you save a little time on starting the push if you push the second one, because less travel time. Down here, we have some stuff that needs to be moved around. The splitter block is not over the ledge, so we need to put it there. Then we need to make sure to complete this side. Then we just need to push to start all of this stuff, placing this domino right here. Push it. I'm not entirely sure whether it's faster to move that detonate block or not. That's something that I need to time, because it takes the tumbler so long to move over sometimes. What do we have next? Ooh, this is a stage that had me trapped for a very long time, because you need for your chain to split in two different directions, but it's going to do so in a mechanic that you haven't seen yet. So you do need an ascent block to go up top here, but you place it to the left of the gap rather than directly beneath the gap, because as it falls over when it hits the ceiling, it's going to knock over another block. If you put it right below the gap, then it's not going to knock anything over, so you don't get that completion of the chain. For this one, the detonate over splitter pattern is going to continue until morale improves. You do need the delay block down here just to make sure that you don't hit that final block until earlier, but do not put the delay block at the top of the stairs, because delay blocks go downstairs really, really slowly. You don't need that for this stage. Just put it at the bottom of the steps. That'll be good enough.
So can I ask, did you make a list for yourself of what the different patterns are and what they mean, or did you just learn it from playing it?
I learned a lot from playing it, and then looking at the tasks, and then incorporating strats from the tasks, and then figuring out why they worked, and then some amount of iteration. So mostly trial and error, mostly error. This particular stage actually has two different solutions that you can do. You can either try to put a delay block on the left side down there, or you can push over the block up top and then rush to move that stop block from the right side to the left. The task, which only exists for Super Nintendo right now, actually moves the stop block as this goes, but I timed this out, and on the DOS version at least, it's a little bit faster to place that delay block on the left. part of the reason for that is I end up here close to the exit door. I can go ahead and push that immediately. Place this block here, and then move this stop block downstairs. You'll see a neat little interaction with all those ascend blocks at the end there. It's going to look kind of like a Jacob's ladder. Pretty neat.
That's so cool.
Here's a stage where you have to... I'm gonna restart that. Where you can start the push immediately, but you don't have a lot of time to then move all of the other pieces in place. You do have time to set up these pieces in advance, but for speedrun purposes, it is faster to try to move everything as all of the blocks are falling over. Place this tumbler right before a bridge, and then that should do it. Pretty soon we should be seeing, yeah, this stage. You have a bridge block up here, but if you try to push the bridge block, then it's going to create a gap and block you from that splitter. So the only thing you can do is pick up the bridge block and then drop it onto the splitter. So this is the stage that teaches you about the drop things onto splitter mechanic, which you're going to use again immediately here so that you can bridge this gap and get to this right side and then push that block there. So I have mentioned the task before. Again, the task only exists for the Super Nintendo version, so some things are applicable from that and some things aren't. On the Super Nintendo version, the general stage gameplay goes faster, but loading times are longer. But also some of the stages are just slightly different. So sometimes stuff works and sometimes it doesn't. This stage, you just move an ascend block down to the lower right here, and then go ahead and push it. There's going to be another stage later on that looks a lot like this, but is considerably more difficult. In particular because this stage teaches you delay block, vanish block, tumbler, and you might be inclined to follow that pattern again later, but it's not the best thing to do. We're moving on to the 5th zone here. This zone has a lot of puzzle solutions that are even more difficult to piece together immediately. For this one, at least, we're going to be taking this stop block back and forth to keep the tumbler going. We only have the one stop block, so we have to keep moving it back and forth until we have our bridge here. I see a question in chat. Do you get any inspect time before the timer starts? Not really, but you can restart a stage at any time. Also, after each stage, you do get a token that allows you to reset to the point before you pushed the block. But if you use it on a stage that gets you one of Colin's quavers, then you won't get any quavers, and then you won't be able to get to the final stage. So be wary of that. Here's why you don't walk over a ledge with an ascend block unless you mean to, because it activates. Bye bye. It was nice knowing you. That does count. Wait, something's wrong there. Okay, that upper block, I must have forgotten to do something here. Maybe I put this ascend block in the wrong place. Okay, alright, we'll just do that again then. Do it correctly this time. Ascend block goes here, ascend block goes in the lower right. Start the push. I think you're supposed to put an ascend block in the lower right, but you can just get faster results by placing this yellow block here and then activating this block by carrying it over an edge.
We get to see the ascend block take 2.
Yeah, this planet needs it. Ooh, this is one where it's really easy to overlook the solution. One thing I have not mentioned is that it is possible for a domino to block your exit door, and if that happens, then you won't be able to enter the exit door. There's a delay block to the left that you just need to place here. If it bounces off the left one and falls to the right, the exit door is not blocked. And also, the ascend block will just barely miss that tumbler so that we can then move on here. But that's one of those stages that's really difficult to find the solution, but the solution is easier than it appears. For this one, you need to go ahead and start the tumbler. I moved the tumbler to the right so that I would have plenty of time to move down here and place this detonate block over the splitter before it explodes. Because you will die if you fall too far, so you can't plummet over the left edge. You do have enough time for this stage to start the chain and then move the stop block here to complete it. But be sure to fall down this gap before the bridge seals it. Moving on. This is a relatively simple stage. You can see that there's a chain in the bottom right, and it's not quite reaching the final block, so we need to go ahead and start this, and then use this yellow domino to complete it before everything falls over. Relatively simple stage.
So I've seen you've been able to move most of the blocks. Can you move the final domino?
No, you cannot move the final block.
I figured, but...
Yeah. For this stage, detonate block over splitter happens again. You need to drop this manually onto the splitter, and you also need to unblock the exit. One of the yellow dominoes was blocking the exit. Activate the splitter by dropping something, and then your one push goes here. Ooh, this is a fun one. You can go ahead and start this, and then the tumbler is just going to bounce endlessly off of those two stop blocks, which will give you enough time to move this ascend block before you then unblock the tumbler. You're expected to use the right stop block to unblock the tumbler, but you can actually just pick up the tumbler itself directly and then just drop it. That works a little bit better. Yeah, that mechanic of picking up the tumbler block directly is going to come in very handy in a later stage. There's two solutions for this stage. You can either try to push the leftmost delay block directly, or you can try to push in the middle. I'm gonna push in the middle just for safety because the timing is kind of difficult with the faster strat. Not quite as difficult as it seems because most of these inputs are buffered. You can hold a direction well in advance and then get where you need to go, and you can do your push. It's not as hard as it appears, but sometimes you just want the safety. So I think you're supposed to put this ascend block at the very end here, but I'm actually going to put it one left of the very end, and then I'm going to move this over here. Take this yellow block and move it up here. There's a tumbler and an ascend block that need to be moved down. A question in chat. If you pick up the moving tumbler and put it back down, is it still in fall state or does it go back to standing? It goes back to standing. That is a good question. Yeah, if you pick up a tumbler and then put it back down, it will be standing and something has to knock it over again.
Is the tumbler the only block you can pick up while it's moving?
I think so. I mean, it's the only one that continues to move after... Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to try to pick up a different block anyway.
It would. Oh, wait. It is possible to pick up a delay block after something has hit it, but before it falls down.
Okay.
Alright, this is going to be the last stage of this zone. You just need to push the tumbler early, bridge this gap, and then fall down. And there's actually two final blocks in this level for some reason, which I don't think you're ever going to see again, and it doesn't really matter. Anyways, we're moving on to the castle zone, the 6th zone. And this one's going to be characterized by just rapidly moving this stop block to wherever it needs to go in order to continue the chain. But yeah, question in chat, the dominoes with 3 lines always have to be the ones that fall last? Yes. So, yeah, the castle zone has a lot of races, as I like to call them, where you're racing the dominoes. Like 3 or 4 stages that are like that. For this one, I'm going to cut off this left path and then go ahead and drop this onto the splitter. That kind of makes this a little easier. If both directions go at once, you might they might collide with each other. So cut off one direction. This stage is pretty easy. You see a lot of places where you drop a domino onto a splitter. You're going to do that at each of these levels. Your exit door is in the upper right, and there is a domino blocking that door, so you're going to have to take the one blocking the exit door specifically and use it to activate this last one. I see a question in chat about the lore. The plot to this game is that Colin was dancing around in a field one day, and then he tripped. Luckily, G.I. Ant here, and yes, that's his name, was there to catch him. But all of Colin's quavers fell into an ant hole. So G.I. Ant has gone into the ant hole, which was a portal in time and space to all these devious puzzles. G.I. Ant has gone here to get Colin his quavers back. And that's the plot.
Best story ever.
Yeah. It is possible in this stage to put that stop block one more tile to the left, but the timing is really tight for that. So place it one block further to the right. I think this stage is supposed to teach you about activating the ascend block by carrying it over an edge, but you can just move the left ascend block to the left there and activate the whole thing that way. I'm not sure if this is the intended solution, but it's the one that I know about. Ooh, this is a fun stage. You're supposed to start by pushing that yellow domino in the upper left, but instead I have chosen to carry it over the ledge with me and bring it all the way down. That tumbler block on the top level is going, and it has activated a tumbler on the second level. Normally, this yellow block that you knocked over would stop that top tumbler. You would then be expected to follow the second tumbler, have it bridge the gap, and then detonate a gap. But since I have pushed over the tumbler up top directly and taken this yellow block all the way down, we instead now have 3 tumblers that are all going at once. You place the yellow block right here, you will stop 2 of those tumblers and leave the third one to knock over the final block. So this is considerably faster than following the snake down. Yeah, I like how clever some of these puzzle solutions are in the later ones, especially when you do unintended ones. For this one, you're going to need to use the detonate block to get to this level so you can pick up this splitter and the domino and activate the splitter. Be sure to get to the exit before the bridge seals the gap. The zone after this one is one of the most fun ones, I think. Well, from a speedrun perspective, from a casual perspective, it has the most difficult puzzle solutions. Anyways, for this one, your chain starts in the upper left. You're going to be using these delay blocks to make sure that the dominoes bounce where they need to go and you activate all of these things. Not too much to this one. Left on the middle ledge, right on the top ledge, and then go ahead and do a push. Yeah, here we go. Alright, for this one, we've got a little bit of racing again. You start the tumbler. You put the delay block here so that the tumbler at the very top of the stage is going to bounce off of it, but grab this bridge before it gets knocked over, because you need to place it here so that the tumbler goes over those blocks that have activated down below to get all the way to the final block here. This one I think is fairly straightforward, except for one possible hiccup that you might run into. You might be inclined to go ahead and place that tumbler toward the right edge of this whole chain, like right here, but you risk it running into the yellow block on the right, and then the dominoes above it might bounce off of the delay block, fall down on your tumbler, and then destroy it, and so you won't solve the stage that way. Yeah, the yellow block fell back down. Oops, got my victory animation. I'm supposed to be skipping that. You won't do the victory animation if you're moving, or if you are pushing up and preparing to push a stop block. We've got another race here for this stage, because there is one stop block here which needs to be put in place before the tumbler right above me starts, because this ledge would put the tumbler right above the final block and destroy it, so you need to bounce the tumbler back to the right, but then you need to take this stop block all the way to the right and place it here so that the tumbler then rebounds. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to the 7th zone pretty soon. We should be almost there. Yeah, here we are. The Toyland. Toyland is has a lot of really difficult puzzle solutions that are unclear sometimes. For this one in particular, we're going to be starting both of our tumblers. The one up top here needs to go down, and then we complete this bridge. But like, yeah, this is a fun zone in a speedrun because the solutions are sometimes really difficult to see, and sometimes the faster puzzle solutions are just so amazing. But this zone is really easy to get. It's easy to get stuck in this zone. A lot of the puzzle solutions are really difficult. Your saving grace, though, is that you usually have a lot of time on your timer to actually figure it out. And if you don't figure it out, you can always replay the stage. But figuring out the puzzle in the first place is usually difficult. Like this stage in particular, because you're naturally inclined to place the tumbler right here to try to complete the chain. There's an ascend block on the left that's going to be going up and activating a lot of things. But you need a delay block, and the only ones that are available are right here. So you go ahead and take this and you place it to the upper left. I had to move the vanish block out of the way first. I have forgotten to move this tumbler, so I've lost a little bit of time, but that's alright. But then the speedrun solution here is going to be to set up the tumbler here instead of in front of the delay block like you would expect, and then go ahead and start this. Then there's this yellow block blocking the exit, so I'm going to go ahead and switch the places of these two. The game usually will not let you place a block in front of an exit, but it will let you do that for vanish blocks because they disappear. They're not going to block the exit. I'm not sure what the intended solution for this stage is, but the solution that I'm using to just place the stop block here and have it knock down all those blocks to the left, it's pretty quick, so go ahead and stick with that. You have to move this delay block before you push this, otherwise you won't have time to move it over to complete this chain. Place it here, and that should do it for this stage. Yeah, Toyland, lot of fun, but very difficult. And usually the zone that I worry about most when I'm derusting, because usually when I come back to this game, I realize that I don't remember the solutions to this zone. This stage in particular, one of the few stages where I don't think I know the speedrun strat for this stage. What I'm going to end up doing is that I'm going to place a delay block over here. Move over here. I want 2 of these delay blocks to go on the left. I want this block to be moved over here. There's a tumbler that is right here. That's going to be moved all the way to the right. This delay block is in a wrong place. Need to place it right there. And then since the tumbler is going to bounce off that stop block to the right, I need to move this so that it's not going to block the exit door. I think that's all of the things that I need to move. Yeah, let's go ahead and go with this. I want to push these and then carry this over the edge. There we go. If you activate the splitter first, then the detonate block is going to destroy the block underneath the ladder, and you won't be able to use that ladder to get down anymore. You won't be stuck, but one path gets closed to you. For this stage, you can push that yellow block immediately. You've got a couple of things to move, but you have enough time to move them. There's an ascend block to the right. You're going to move it here to start up the chain up top. And then you would normally expect everything to work out just fine here, except there's a yellow block right here, and so you have to move the delay block to the left here, switch the places of those 2 blocks, because if you don't do that, the yellow block is going to bounce off of the delay block, fall over the ledge, and then destroy the block below. Here's this one. We're going to see the mechanic I mentioned earlier about delay blocks going down the stairs very slowly in action. I have to go ahead and move this now, but then I can start the chain. We're going to see those delay blocks go down the stairs very slowly, but give me just enough time to move both of these blocks. I do need to complete the chain down here. Move this tumbler to the left, and then there's a domino here right in front of the door. Move it all the way to the left, and I'm going to go ahead and delay here just to show something funny. The final block fell over and destroyed another block, but the door opened already, so that's fine. And that's the only time that I'm going to let that be seen on purpose. For this one, you can start all the things immediately. This stop block will be used to make the tumbler go back the other way. And then you go ahead and place it on the far right here, and you should see the bottom tumbler stop on that pile of dominoes just before the final block gets knocked over. As a side note, a potential problem that I've run into lots of times on that previous stage: don't be holding anything when the final block falls over, otherwise the door will not open. A lot of rules here. Here's a stage that the solution isn't immediately clear. You need to place a detonate block to the left of that bridge block, and then there are detonate blocks on all of these levels here. You're going to be using these detonate blocks to create a path all the way back to the upper level, because there is an ascend block at the bottom that you need to activate. You might be expected to line up the gaps, but I'm having it veer to the left just to activate this block sooner. Question in chat: I assume normally you'd fail a level if a block is destroyed, but because the exit was open it didn't matter? Yeah, the exit normally does not open if a block is destroyed. You want the blocks to fall over, you don't want them destroyed. I'm going to go ahead and show off the bounce off the delay block pickup here. The tumbler is going to bounce off, but I can pick this up and then place it back to the right here. And then place it back down. And I'm doing that just to make this tumbler hit both of these detonate blocks immediately. If I let the tumbler hit the delay block normally, then I think I would be able to manipulate stuff down here with enough time, but instead I'm having it fall down sooner. Bring this yellow block here to fall down here. You don't want the tumbler bouncing off the delay block. What else have we got? Ah, the final stage here. Your one push has to be used for this gap because the falling distance from that gap is enough to cause you to take a death. So you have to use the bridge to go over there, and then you don't have any more pushes, so you drop something onto the splitter there. You'll notice the exit door does not have a ledge beneath it. We have to use this bridge to create the ledge there, and then move that other yellow block to the left. And that should complete the stage. This is the final stage of Toyland, the 7th zone, which is going to bring us to Zone 8, the dungeon, which is my least favorite zone, but mostly because my least favorite stage is in it. So for this first stage, you start the... This is not correct. I'm supposed to move the detonate block first. You start the chain up top, and it's going to be hitting a whole lot of delay blocks, so you gotta set things up here so that you will go on the correct path. A detonate block over the gap there, a tumbler on the far right side. I'm going to restart this stage because I'm actually not certain that I am going to make it down in time. Let's try that again. Detonate block over here. Move this left so that it's out of the way of the tumbler. And then the far right block finishes the chain, and then we unblock the right side. The strat I had intended to go for was pick up this right side, but then place it to the right of the detonate block here. This bit is a little bit shorter. Detonate block over the gap here. Finish the chain. You won't have enough time to move the left stop block to the left of the detonate block, so just go ahead and place it there. And then all of that should finish before the bottom hits the final block, and we have made it there just in time. The dungeon zone has a lot of solutions that are not obvious, kind of like some of the previous zones. But they're usually a little more obvious than Toyland, so I'm not exactly sure why they put these stages after Toyland, because I think Toyland is more difficult. But yeah, bridge to get over that gap, detonate block over the splitter. Those are things we've seen before. And then there's two ways you can deal with this next part, because down in the lower right, you're going to have a block that falls over and then activates the ascend block, which hits the final block, but you've got a tumbler in the lower left that needs to be dealt with. So there's usually two different ways to deal with that. Either you start at the top and you bring a yellow block all the way down, or you cut off the chain that leads... Uh-oh. I didn't place that block far enough to the left. I meant to use a token there. While I do this stage again, Anade, can I pass it over to you for a bit?
Sure. So I want to remind everyone that you are watching Speedrun Ragnarok 2022. We are benefiting Take This. And of course, with your donations, you can also put in for incentives. Like the next run is Ultima 3, and you can select the gender and the name for all 4 characters. So I think right now we even have some of those aren't selected at all. So like character 3, it's $0 for male and $0 for female. Character 2 only has $10 for the name Alf, but no other donations right now. So if you want to put in even like, $5, it's really easy to change those up. And you can also get prizes. If you type !prize in chat to get a look at the prizes and what you might be able to earn every day. All right.
All right.
To explain this one.
Yeah, you start with tumblers near the top, and you pretty much have to push one immediately. It's not always clear what to do with the other one, though. Oh, stop block. I need to move the stop block. But yeah, you place the second tumbler in the bottom right there, and then you move that stop block over to just have it bounce back and knock over the final block. For this stage, you have to activate this first one by dropping the domino onto the splitter, but then you need to push this ascend block immediately before the gap gets closed. That was a close one. I very nearly messed that one up. For this one, you've got a bunch of yellow blocks then that need to finish the chain to the final block. So you have to go ahead and trap the tumbler here for a little bit while you move the rest of these, because you just don't have the time to move these. So let's see, one more, and then unblock it, but put the stop block down immediately. You don't want to be holding something when that final block falls over, or the door will not open. For this one, you can go ahead and push that immediately. Bring this delay block all the way down. The tumbler is going to get all the way to this delay block, but I do have enough time to move this ascend block over here. And then this yellow block will be used to stop the tumbler so that this stage is completed successfully. Let's see, is it the next stage that's the... No, not this one. For this one, there's multiple solutions again. Push the tumbler. I don't need it. Yeah. In fact, I don't need to push anything else. Bye-bye. Yeah, I don't need that one. I'm going to have a splitter into a tumbler into a bridge, which gets you to the left side here. You do need to bring this down over here, and then you go ahead and pick up this block, activate the splitter. You gotta rush a little bit though, because you gotta get down. The lower right is not going to complete until you move this stop block over so that the yellow block above can bounce off of it. You also have to move this piece. This is not the solution that I'm used to though. There was a different solution, and I'm not sure how to describe it, that I was doing until recently. Oh, here we go, here we go. This is my least favorite stage, right here. Okay, in this stage, you start in the upper left. There are a lot of gaps with dominoes on either side of them, and so what you're going to do, you can see 10 splitters on this screen. You're going to move every single one of them into place. You go all the way to the top, grab the splitter, go to where it needs to go, and you are going to repeat this. So that is why this is my least favorite stage, because the solution is obvious, but I'm going to be on this stage for like 2 or 3 minutes. So
that's perfect, because we have a couple donations.
Yeah, this is the perfect time for you.
So we have Prof NES donated $50. Thank you so much. And putting that in towards the virtual high glide game, the Random Seed. I believe we are trying to reach a total of $325 before that game starts to get the Random Seed, and right now we're $50 in. So they put that donation towards naming character 3 for Ultima 3 Monty Hall. And then the Alter Maven also donated $5 and said, missing incentive, I disagree. Here's a little patch for Ultima 3, meow. And they put their donation towards the character 3 gender for Ultima 3, which is female. Yay! Thank you so much. So we are at a total of $4,335 right now. And all of this, just as a reminder, is going towards Take This, which exists to let people know that it's okay not to be okay. No one is alone in their struggles with mental health, and there's always hope for improvement. Thank you so much. Every little bit you donate helps, and you get to be put in for prizes and support awesome games like this one. So, keep those donations coming. Thank you so much.
Alright, thank you for that. And yeah, I did not realize Virtual Highlight had a random seed option, so I'm really curious to see that. I want to see that. Ah, this
All right,
is...
so you...
What's up?
Sorry, I was just gonna say, so you heard them, everyone. Get those donations in so we can get the random seed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this stage looks a lot like one in the Toyland zone, except that you have plenty of time to actually move everything before you start the chain, so I'm not exactly sure why they have placed this one later, because it seems easier. The main thing, though, is that I'm going to place a couple of these blocks, delay blocks, at the ledges, and then I'm going to go ahead and move this down here, and then I'm going to go ahead and start the chain. It is possible to do this having moved only like having moved like one fewer yellow block, but the timing on that is a little more tight, so I'm just giving myself plenty of time to go ahead and put this last piece into place. Yeah, just wait for that final block to go over. Go in here. Okay, this is kind of an interesting puzzle here. Up top, we have a lot of those blocks in place. Your final block is to the left, and you do need to make sure that the final block does not fall over too soon. So you need to move one of these pieces out of the way, and then you're going to need to move your delay blocks to the left and your regular blocks to the right. You do, however, have enough time to move things when there's only 2 blocks left to move. You can go ahead and start your push here, and then you should have enough time to get up here and move the last 2 blocks in place. Just barely. Was the ladder potentially faster? I don't know. There's so many minor optimizations that you can do in some of these stages. For this one, I'm just going to go ahead and take these 3 blocks. I happen to know that the start of the chain is 1 left of the ladder, which makes it easier to put these in place. Again, your detonate block is going to go over the splitter, so move that away from the splitter, move this over the splitter, and then you complete the chain and you start it. There's a splitter in the lower right that I'm going to go ahead and pick up as this stuff is falling over and carry it over the ledge here. I'm not sure if this is the correct solution or the intended solution, but it's the only one that I've seen. Final stage of the dungeon zone. This is kind of like the first stage of the dungeon zone. You start a chain on the right, then you rush to the left to complete everything. In this case, put the detonate block in place. You are racing yourself again. You pick up this one. You don't have time to move that vanish block, but you can drop that domino over the splitter, and then you move on here to get one more quaver for Colin. This is the cutscene, last cutscene you'll see. He just shot me! I've been getting those things for you. Okay. Well, anyways, this is the final zone, Japan, and this is my favorite zone largely because this background music track is my favorite. It is so good, and the puzzles here are pretty interesting. At almost pretty much on par with Toyland. Maybe a little less complicated, but yeah. Do I have enough time to place this vanish block? I moved a vanish block away from the stop block. Hold on. Something's not right here. I might have to let that go. Yeah, this is too fast. I messed up some of my pathing here. You need to get rid of all those vanish blocks, then place your detonate block here. Yeah, I messed up that pathing a little bit and had to do one more round of the tumbler. But yeah, Japan has really interesting puzzles. Some of them non-intuitive. For this one, you start things immediately. grab this delay block immediately, because you have a lot of delay blocks here, and you need to complete the path to the final block. Cut off this chain immediately so that you don't risk any of these other blocks falling over. Because if you don't cut off those chains, you might run out of blocks. You don't have a lot of time to move everything before everything reaches here. This is another puzzle that is slightly different from the Super Nintendo version. The Super Nintendo version would get rid of this stop block on this ledge completely, but that's because the Super Nintendo version can drop over the ledge to the right, but you can't do that in the DOS version because it's too far. I am going to go ahead and pick up these tumblers as they are moving and place them down to stop them. Line them up in front of the final block. This yellow block immediately goes in front of the final block so that you don't risk the tumblers continuing to move on, and you start the chain at its soonest. Yeah, picking up...
Final block.
Yeah. Some of these solutions are wild. Okay, so for this one, you're going to have to start something and then move a lot of things while it's going. So let's take a look here. Detonate block over the splitter. This regular block needs to be to the right of the delay block so that you don't risk the tumbler stopping on it. You move this ascend block here. Push it to the left. That's going to start all of this stuff. It's going to rebound off of the left stop block, and while it's doing that, I have time to move these vanish blocks down. If you didn't notice already, I did not have enough time to actually... I did not have enough space to actually set up all these blocks down here, so you have to start the chain. You push the tumbler to the left, have it go off of the delay block and continue to go so that you have enough time to do this. It's going to stop on the delay block. Then we have... Ooh, this is probably the puzzle that had me stuck for the longest time, and that's largely because I didn't know about the pickup tumbler mechanic when I did this level. I think this yellow block is supposed to be saved for stopping a tumbler later, but we're not going to need it for this faster solution. We need a tumbler to start up here. We need this ascend block eventually because the final block is in a place that only the ascend block can reach. There's a delay block right here that we're going to pick up before the tumbler hits it. Then we need to pick up this tumbler and set it back down. Have this tumbler bounce off that, and then we go up here while the tumbler is back and forth between those stop blocks. And I needed to pick up that tumbler because if I don't do that, it's going to continue going, rebound off of the delay block, and then destroy the other tumbler. We should have just enough time here for the tumbler to stop, and that's good. That's a really tough puzzle solution. This one has another solution where the task does something, but what I do appears to be faster on the DOS version at the very least. Because the task fills... I'm walking over these ledges and activating these ascend blocks so that they will continue these chains. The Super Nintendo task activates the top one first, and then activates this chain by dropping something onto the splitter rather than pushing. But the problem is that to do that, you have to set up that ascend block at the top first, and it takes you a really long time to fall down all these ledges. So I don't know if my solution is faster for the Super Nintendo version, but for the DOS version, my solution's faster. We've got a stage here which is somewhat similar to the one in Dungeon that I didn't care for, but a little more fun because we're gonna be placing all these splitters and bridges. Split at the bottom of the ladder, bridge to the left, and we're gonna repeat that. The ladders are not as winding of a path, so it's a little less tedious. Plus, you have the far better background music of Japan, which I just love listening to. I love this track. My favorite of the game. Your mileage may vary on which one's your favorite, but I like this one best. Uh,
I don't know. I think they're all great music.
all the music's really good. I was only introduced to this game relatively recently, like about a year and a half ago, for a DOSCathlon race marathon, and I loved the game so much that I played the full game, and then I started speedrunning the full game. As far as the leaderboard goes, my time is the only one that is on the DOS version. There are 2 times on the leaderboard for the Super Nintendo version, and there are no times for the Amiga version. So if you're an Amiga fan, please check this game out and put a time on the board. I'd like to see what the Amiga version's like. Ooh, this is a very
It's an open world record, folks.
Yeah. Oops. Very nearly fell over the edge there.
I was going to ask, is it possible to fall off the map completely?
Yes.
Oh boy.
I'm not gonna demonstrate that right now.
No.
Yeah. Here's a stage where I have had to create my own solution because the Super Nintendo version, this top ledge is actually shorter by about 2 tiles. So the Super Nintendo version doesn't have to use a detonate block to get the tumblers from the top to the bottom. But that's not the case in the DOS version. So I've moved a detonate block over there to create my gap, but that means there's a lot of these combo detonate bridge blocks that are going to be activated. One of those bridge blocks is now without its detonate block. So that's going to be something that has to be made up later. In the upper left, we have 6 tumblers, and every one of them has to be activated. But you don't want them all going at the same time, because if one of them falls on another one, like say a tumbler falls and then bounces off of the stop block, it's going to delay just long enough that the tumbler following it is going to fall on top of it and destroy it. So I have a small little solution here that I'm going to do, which is that I'm going to use 3 vanish blocks here, and those vanish blocks are going to separate one tumbler from the rest. In the Super Nintendo version, you can get away with just 1 vanish block, but in the DOS version, you need 3. We can go ahead and start this now. Get down here, you. The 3 vanish blocks will start the tumbler. It's going to bounce off the stop block, and then I'm going to pick it up and move it out of the way so that all of those other tumblers go over the edge, and I don't have to worry about them anymore. So this one bridge block I have to pick up and keep out of the way of the tumbler. The tumbler is going to fall on a yellow block and stop, but activate another tumbler. So I need to be careful here to not drop this onto the tumbler. I do need to get over to the left of the tumbler and drop down, but not too fast. I have actually outpaced the ascend block before and destroyed my bridge as it activated, as I dropped it right as the ascend block activated. I'm mixing up words here. Place the bridge in front of the final block to finish it off. Here's another stage with 2 possible solutions. For the longest time, I used to start this immediately on the right, but I found out recently from the task that it's faster to move everything into place and then fall down to the right side. If you activated it immediately, then you would need to fall down the left side, and so you'd be a little bit delayed getting down here. I can't place this stop block immediately because it will block the ascend block, but I do need to place it right here to stop that tumbler just a little bit sooner. And the reason this solution works better is because you end up closer to the exit door as it opens. This stage is another one that can be very difficult. You're kind of inclined to push over that final block from the right side, but it's a little easier to reason about things if you go ahead and do it from the... I was supposed to move that bridge first. That's okay. I can just go ahead and move this bridge now. I've done some of these a little out of order. move this out of the way. You need to save this for later. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab this piece because I do need something to fall over here. You need that detonate block to get to the... Hold on, my splitter's down here. You need that detonate block to get to the lower level because the ladder will not get you there. You can't reach those pieces down at the very bottom until you have created a gap using your detonate block. Move this splitter to the right. You're going to be activating this whole chain of stuff by dropping something onto that splitter. Detonate block goes over the splitter. Push this over here. I do have one extra detonate block here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use this to activate the splitter rather than use a regular block for doing it. It will not explode this way, but it is going to go ahead and complete this chain, activate the detonate block. I'll go ahead and place this bridge in front of the gap now. Take this ascend block here, move the tumbler right in front of the bridge, and then we can push this from the left side, and that's going to complete this stage. There's not very many stages left, just a couple. In fact, yeah, this is the final stage of Japan, but there is a secret bonus stage after this. So this is the penultimate stage. We're getting close to the end here. For this one, you can only really access the top of the playing field. The bottom is not accessible to you, so you have to find a way to interact with the stuff down there. First, you need to knock over a tumbler, but the only way to activate all this stuff with the space that you have is to drop things onto splitters, because you have a lot of vanished blocks here, and you just don't have enough room to work with everything. So you're going to be dropping something onto a splitter to activate it, and you have 4 splitters to do that with, and a lot of vanished blocks. So the tumbler that I put at the end for that first drop interacted with that bottom row, but to interact with the second row, you need to bridge the gap at the second level, and then you need a tumbler to follow it up so that it will then knock down stuff on that level. And yeah, you can do the bridge and the tumbler on the same splitter drop, or you can do bridge on the second drop, tumbler on the third. Up to you, whatever is more comfortable for you. But it is important that you do this splitter from right to left, because the splitter that I have activated on the right has now blocked off that portion of the field, so I'm not going to be able... Oh wait, one more splitter, I gotta move it. So yeah, as you activate these splitters, less and less of the field is going to be available to you, and if you place the splitter too far to the left, then you cut off the field and you won't have enough room to work with stuff anymore. 2 splitters left to activate, and a few more blocks to place. If you've done the bridge and the 2 tumblers at this point, all of your remaining blocks on this third splitter must be vanished blocks. There are 2 yellow blocks to the left there. Don't use them yet. Use vanished blocks. But I do have a quick moment to throw it over to you, Anade.
Just a reminder, the next game we're coming up really close here is going to be Ultima 3. We have those incentives for all 4 character names and genders, and currently character 2 and character 4 have $0 towards either gender. So if you really want Ultima 3 character 2 and or 4 to be male or female, maybe you feel very strongly, maybe we could get an all-female cast, who knows? You can get those donations in, get them in quickly to put those in. Of course, we also have other things. We also have Mystic Bell is coming up a little bit later if you want to put your money in towards that true ending easier. Normally we like to make our speedrunners have a harder time, but this one is making it easier, which, you know, is also nice. So if you want to put those donations in, you can do !donate in chat. And just that reminder that all of these donations are going towards Take This. Take This seeks to decrease stigma and increase support for mental health among game makers and players. So it's a really great cause.
Alright, so that's going to complete Japan Zone. Since I have not used any tokens, I've gotten all of Colin's quavers. This Fiendish final stage is open to me. And how is it Fiendish? Well, you have a bunch of blocks here. Some of them are special blocks, but you can't see what they are, but I can tell you what they are. This one's a delay block. There's another delay block and a regular block up here. There's also 2 solutions to this stage, and as far as I can tell, they are equivalent in how much time they take. That lone block on the ledge up there that I can't reach is also a normal block. The final block is right here. Let's see. This, I think, is the stop block that I'm just going to move out of the way. This is a regular block. Then right here we have an ascend block, which I'm going to use to get to that lone domino up top. Then over here, this one's a splitter. I'm going to drop it over the edge here, and then I'm going to activate it by dropping this regular block over it. While all that stuff goes, I should be able to take these regular blocks and use them to complete the chain here, because that bottom row is now going to be all regular blocks except the one on the far right is the final block. So you go ahead, push this. This opens up the exit door. Time is going to be when I go through that door and the screen fades to black. So ready, time.
Yay!
Well done.
Well done indeed. Any shout outs or anything you want to do?
So I'm just gonna say I just really love this game. It's only 3 times on the leaderboard, none of them for the Amiga version. And if you liked what you saw, please go ahead and play it. If you got a Super Nintendo flash cart and it came with free games, this might be one of them. And if you go to dog.com, this game is there for like $5, the DOS version. I'm not sure where you would get the Amiga version, but I do want to see the Amiga version. Thank you so much for having me, and please stick around for Ultima.
Yes, thank you so much. That was a really interesting game. I definitely have to look into where I can play it. Remember, everyone, we are putting all of our donations in towards Take This. You can type !donate in chat or !incentives to see what we currently have open. The next game on the schedule is Ultima 3 with all of those character names and genders that you have chosen with your donations. So get those in. I have been Trainer Anade. This is my final host shift for this event, but I will be passing you over to Happy Bear shortly. And thank you so much. Continue sticking around for amazing gameplay and, a good cause.